Don't you just love it when you're reading a new book but you realize it has the same plot as, well, nearly every other book you've ever read? Yeah, me too. I'm no expert in writing. As such, I have no idea what good plot is. But that's okay. Chinese cultivation comics only have one thing in them, and that's fighting. And cultivation, and if you're lucky, love. If I may, I would like to mention that some of these comics are crappy. Some of them are really good because there's a real driving force behind the main characters wanting to become stronger or better. But the majority of them are mediocre and the rest are just doo-doo. I would also like to mention that this is not a recommendation of reading any manhwa. This is just me venting about my crippling addiction to them. Also, Korean comics are called manhwa and Chinese comics are called manhwa. Do you understand the difference? Because I do not. I'm a huge manga. I haven't been engrossed in the medium that long compared to others, but boy oh boy has it impacted my life. I've become a huge degenerate. Just reading a new manga and trying to figure out why the author wrote the manga the way they did, and what they in the end are trying to portray to the reader. It's a good feeling. That, or I'm just making up some bullshit to make myself look smart. But at the end of the day, there comes a point in time when you realize there isn't really anything new on the market. And so, I went on an incredible downward spiral of Chinese cultivation comics. It all started off with Tales and Demons and Ghosts. Let me set the stage. There I was, doing some coding in my IT class, and I thought to myself, damn, I'm bored as heck. So what do? Like every other normal average human being on this planet, I went to a site that provided free scans, comics, manga. I went onto the new and rising page of that site, and there it was, the salvation to my boredom. I ain't gonna lie to myself or whoever was watching my video, but I clicked on it because of the cover. But I stuck around for the plot. What had really captivated me about this was the progression of a dying master who wasn't able to complete a final wish or a final something, going back into their younger body and cultivating back into the grace. So pretty much an isekai manga, but without the isekai and more tier levels. But at that point in time, I yet to read anything like Tales and Demons and Ghosts. But as someone once famous said, all good things must come to an end. And sadly, Tales and Demons and Ghosts did not, or has yet, at the time of writing the script. After a certain point in time, the plot really started to hang loose. By that, I mean that once the main character started to look strong and all-powerful, bam, for no reason, weak main villain would come in and beat his ass, and then the main character would go, get stronger, and come back and defeat him. I understand this is the main plot for most shonen manga, but let me just make a point, alright? There was an overarching plot, but it felt like it was just a means to an end. It felt like the author was trying to milk a dead thing, like cactus, hemp, a camel. I dropped this manhwa about a year ago or so, and you could be happy to know that in this place, lots of them have sprung up like weeds. For every good manhwa, you can be happy to know, there are about 1,000 or so bad/mediocre ones. They all have the same ingredients and pretty much the same cooking instructions, but differ slightly by the chef who makes them. If you too want to make your own Chinese cultivation comic, which is crappy, just follow these easy do-it-yourself steps at home. Get some powerful master, kill it, and make them have a grudge on the person that killed it, swearing that in their next life they will come and kill it. Reincarnate said master, but make them really weak, but for some reason retain the most powerful cultivation method that they just couldn't do in their past life because their dick malfunctioned or something, I don't know. Make it their life mission to bring the most amount of trouble to the said person that they want to kill, and sprinkle in some useless main villains, you know, to bolster the main character's strength. For taste, of course. Last, allow the main character to defeat the main villain in the most roundabout, tissy fit, most annoying way possible. This is what made me realize that my taste in manga, or in general just comics, is pretty shit. When I had dropped Tales and Demons and Ghosts, I became bored almost instantaneously. So I went onto a trek, a new discovery of sorts, to find some new things to read. And I could say that my findings were pretty disappointing. Here are some manhwa, which I would say in my book are pretty bad. These are I'm the Great Immortal, Yuzan, Immortal Swordsman in the Reverse World, I Am an Evil God, Immortal Nanny Dad, Star Martial God Technique, Strongest Leveling. These manhwa are just some that I could think of while writing the script, but they amount to almost nothing to what's out there. I just couldn't be bothered to find them. If I had one good thing to say about these manhwas, is that at the beginning, much like Tales and Demons of Gods, there was a plot, there was a direction to where the main character was going to go. But after a certain point in time, it just became like a buffalo stuck in some mud, trying so hard to get out, but falling straight back in. I have been quite critical of Chinese cultivation comics, but in the thickest, most dense part of the jungle, there is a faint ray of hope. So here are some that I still read to this day quite fondly, and try and keep up with the latest chapters if possible. They are Apotheosis, Martial Peak, Almighty Master, Metropolitan Supremacy System, Supreme Mad Emperor System, Rebirth of the Urban Immortal Cultivator, Wu Ling Swordmaster? Yeah, Wu Ling Swordmaster. If you ask me why I still read these comics, the answer I got for you is this. I don't know. The art becoming like dog shit, the plot becoming like dog shit, or combination of dog shit. After all that is said and done, this is just my take on the world of Chinese cultivation comics. Now, I didn't dwell on the whole side of manhwa because, well, I too have a life. I mean, there are people who might like every Chinese cultivation comic that ever comes out of China, or indeed the world. There could be some that absolutely hate everything about Chinese cultivation. But at the end of the day, manhwa is just better, is what I would like to say. But have you read The Gamer? Like, at the beginning, it was good. There was a plot, there was a direction where the character wanted to go. But it just became... And have you read the spin-off of the spin-off of the spin-off of the spin-off of Solo Leveling? I'm like, god damn, the original!